Hello, my name is Kev with Design Nudge. Today we're going to walk through a couple of opportunities for designers looking for remote roles. The first company is Syniti, part of Capgemini, and the role that they have open today is Senior Product Designer. It was posted January 15th, 2026. So depending on when you're watching this video, make note of that. So the exciting part is it's remote anywhere in the United States. The role is a product designer. They're going to be part of a team helping with strategy, roadmap, and feature definition. And to me, this is a typical product designer role. So they're going to hit the main points here, like can you collaborate with cross-functional team members? That includes product owners, engineers, and different stakeholders. Do you have a skill set to do a deep dive into complex business problems, to understand user needs, workflows, and underlying data challenges? And then can you translate business goals and product requirements into user-centered experiences? Um, some of these are very common requirements for a role. And if you're a senior designer, this is very familiar for you. If you're earlier in your career, what that just means is if an executive, a design manager, or maybe a product owner comes to you and says, our business goal is to convert new signups into paid customers, um, are you able to take that overall business goal and help with some of the product requirements and user-centered experiences to accomplish those business goals? So moving on, creating user flows, wireframes, high-fidelity mockups, able to drive user research initiatives. I've noticed with some companies, they are kind of not indexing high or investing in dedicated user research teams. They're looking for what we call full stack designers. So if you think of the double diamond design process, the first one's understanding the problem space, might be more UX and user research. And then the second one is defining the solution, which just means working with your cross-functional stakeholders to actually design and build out that solution. So for this role, it looks like they're wanting someone who understands how to do both sides, which includes user research. Can you help with the design system and act as the customer voice? Now, some companies will put requirements. I've also seen somewhere in smaller text, they'll say, even if you don't check off all these preferences or requirements, feel free to apply because you might have something else we're looking for, or we might be able to adjust some of these requirements. So for example, at the top, they put senior product designer in this company. They think that's 5 to 8 years of experience, um, hands-on experience with Figma, similar design AI tools, um, etc. So you can read through here. I've noticed some companies like people who have hands-on experience with front-end development. I think that's a bonus, and they even write it as a plus. Very few designers know how to actually code, but it's nice to understand some of the HTML structure and CSS structure when you're designing, especially when you collaborate closely with engineering. So that's the first company. The second company I'd like to feature is Alyvs. They're going to help scale trucking ops with AI-driven tools. And the role they have open today is for a senior product designer. Again, this is a remote role across the United States. Similar to the previous one I featured, they're kind of looking for a full stack designer who can do end-to-end design process. So this means starting with a kickoff call with your product manager, maybe others in the company, doing research, ideating through your different solutions, and then building out those high fidelity mockups and final tools. They're looking for people who can collaborate with cross-functional teams, develop and maintain a design system, conduct user research, and then stay current with industry trends. Um, earlier I mentioned how you should still apply even if you don't check off all of the requirements or qualifications. This is a great example. So at the top it says senior product designer, same thing as the other listing I just showed you. But here you can see they're looking for someone with 3+ years of experience. And that's different from the 5 to 8 in the previous post. But they're looking for people who have that leadership quality where they can lead design projects from start to finish in a fast-paced environment. They want you to be able to use certain design tools, Figma, Sketch, Adobe Creative Suite, or similar. And something I've noticed with companies, just because they put these tools here like Sketch doesn't mean they use it day to day. They're probably putting it here to say, if you're familiar with Sketch, you're probably going to be able to use Figma. And then, the landscape for hiring is competitive right now. So it helps if your background is very similar to this company's main product and customer use cases. So they're looking for people who have experience in logistics, transportation, or supply chain industries. They say it's a plus, it's not required. So that's good here. Um, and they offer competitive salary. Let's see. So here they don't list their salary, which is interesting. If you're the people at this company who are hiring, I recommend you list your salary bands. You'll get better talent by being upfront with your salary bands. The next company is ShopMy. Uh, my understanding is that they're helping people recommend things to buy through social media networks and creator content, like podcasters. So the role they have open is a senior product designer role. It's remote across the United States. Again, senior designers have autonomy and trust from leadership, so they're hoping you can run the entire design process from start to finish, collaborating closely with your PMs, engineers, and other designers. Here they write digest user research into insights. I wonder if they have a user researcher or someone on the marketing team putting this together instead of run or manage your own user research. So that's something you can ask about during the interviews. Engage in design critiques, giving constructive feedback is another point they're looking for. Just like the other companies, they're trying to maintain and build out their design system, and then staying up to date on tools and trends. So this is the third role I'm showing. The first one, a senior designer, was 5 to 8 years of experience. The second role I showed you was 3+. For this third role, they're looking for 4+ years of experience. And they're calling out the need for a designer who's comfortable in a fast-paced startup environment. I think because this is a little bit more of a B2C tool for content creators, they're looking for people who have more of that polished visual design. So they're highlighting interaction design, visual design, and user-centered thinking, and across different platforms, so web, mobile, and responsive design. During your interviews with them, you can dig into a little bit more about what they mean by rapid iteration. This can mean kind of like the design thinking process, where before you invest in a product, you're really validating with the smallest MVP that you can before moving it into implementation. And there are other companies who rapid iteration could just mean we're skipping user research, we're skipping a lot of our design process to try to send out quick wins. So I would dig into this to understand which one it is and if it aligns with how you want to work as a designer. And then this role features the pay range. Now, something to highlight here, companies are featuring it because some states are requiring it by law. So if you're in a different state than New York, you might have a different salary range here. The company's not putting it per tier level. And then there are some companies, especially for remote roles, which this is, where they'll just put a salary range for the entire United States, despite which geography you're in. I just want to highlight that the geography they put is New York, which is a high cost of living space. So be prepared during the calls with the recruiter. They might say, okay, if you're in Detroit, Denver, Phoenix, those other tier cities, your salary might be lower. And I recommend for you to advocate to keep a similar salary because you can get this despite what geography you work in. And then the last company I'm going to highlight is a company called Point. They're helping people unlock their home equity to build a future. I would dig into what that means and then move on to the job listing here. Lead product designer. It's 100% remote. I just want to highlight that they have local here. During your interviews, ask how many people are remote versus on-site or hybrid. That's important to understand if you prefer a mature remote working environment. If you remember during the 2020 and a few of these other years where some people were in office and some weren't yet, and vice versa as things changed in the economy, it was hard for people to adapt to being remote. And then there's some people who are on site, and when they have their on site meetings, for example, they might forget the remote people on the display screen in the room. So just check into this to see what level of remote they're doing. Is it fully remote, remote allowed, etc.? So moving on to the role itself, they added the word lead product designer instead of senior product designer like the other ones. And this one's on the growth team. That's an interesting area to work on. If you're looking to grow your career in a certain way, the growth team can help in that trajectory because the growth teams usually are more data and metric driven. So you can actually build up interesting case studies saying we moved this metric to this metric because it was our focus and we were on the growth team. And you can actually get a little better case studies out of it. For example, they called it A/B testing, which the other listings haven't called out yet. So for this role, they're wanting people to help own the top of funnel customer flows that shape how homeowners explore their products. They'll lead customer research through discovery interviews, usability testings, and surveys, and then partner on the product analytics and experimentation to identify friction and hesitation. This company, like most companies, are enabling AI-assisted experiences. So if you've done that already, that can help you during the interview process. And because growth teams are kind of in between marketing and product, you have to be okay collaborating with more cross-functional stakeholders. And you can see it here that they're not just saying product engineering like the other roles, they're actually listing out marketing, sales, data, and content. And I imagine others in the company will be included in that as well. And with so many different stakeholders and timelines involved, you have to incorporate feedback in a smart way and navigate trade-offs. I've worked on a growth team before, so I'm very familiar with that. If you have any questions on what I mean by that, feel free to reach out to me and through email or by leaving a comment. So for this lead product designer role, they're looking for 5+ years of experience designing complex consumer-facing digital products, ability to work independently, to tackle ambiguous design process problems within, business goals, technical constraints, and customer needs. And, just like the other roles, Figma seems to be the popular tool of choice today. So they're hoping to find someone who uses Figma. And then a bonus or nice to have. You can read this as a nice to have, but really the recruiter will be optimizing for candidates who have this background in fintech or other regulated industry. I've also worked in fintech, so I understand why they would try to find someone who's worked in fintech or finance before. So besides what the company is looking for from you, be sure to always check out their benefits. If they don't list it, ask during that call. And just like I mentioned for the previous role, sometimes companies will adjust compensation by your location. So they have tier 1 cities, which is usually higher cost of living cities here, like San Francisco. So you can see the salary band range is on the high end here, tier 2, and then tier 3. If tier 3 salary works for where you live and this works for how your lifestyle is, that's great. But I still recommend for you to find companies where they're not paying by location, but for talent, because you can find a US remote role at this number in any city in the US if you have the skill set. If you're curious to learn how that's possible, head over to Design Nudge and our education portal. Here you can sign up for our free remote design career guide. It's a 10-page PDF that I created where I can send it to you. And if you scroll down, you can find our first 1-hour course for only $37, where I'm giving an overview of the entire design hiring process that can help you land the job that you need. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, take care.